Before I start off with any progress on the boat, this is the epoxy sticking to old epoxy test. Now this piece of wood is very old, had epoxy on it from many years ago, so it's a good one to test. Now I've done patches of raw wood, no preparation, sanded only. You'll see that that's sanded smooth there. Rubbed with thinners only, sanded and rubbed with thinners. First thing I'm going to do is drag a chisel hard right across the whole lot and see what breaks away. Well, that just showed everything sticking like crazy. No giving away at all, though the raw wood naturally caved in where the epoxy was really thin. But everything's sticking really solid there. As with my earlier test, when I did my paint test, I've done thick epoxy, 50% thinners, thick epoxy, 50% thinners, etc. all the way through. Now, the dragging of the chisel through it made no dent. Then I hammered the chisel as hard as I could into each of them, and what I found was epoxy sticks like crazy to everything except no preparation. Thick epoxy, I can get the new thick epoxy to delaminate off the old epoxy. Everywhere else I've had to remove wood to lift the epoxy. It would not delaminate off the old epoxy at all. So sanding only definitely works. Rubbing with thinners definitely works with no sanding. And both of them, of course, is also very good. Raw wood sticks like crazy, no preparation. Even the application of epoxy with 50% thinners sticks to no preparation, but it's a good idea to sand because that definitely works as well. So there you go. Even this one that gave way, which I gave a score out of 4 out of 10, everything else a 10 out of 10, even this took a mighty hard whack with a chisel and hammer to break through. But then yes, it can delaminate off the old epoxy. Actually, some of this will actually be cut up and reused in other areas of the boat. Yeah, nice car there. Pity it's not mine. My good friend Dave lent it to me while he sails to Australia and back. Now, over here we have electronic stuff which I am discarding. Have no use for. Sort of a shame, but I think most of it's out of date, and electronics keep improving all the time. Now here we have plywood which has arrived. I finally got off my bum and organised purchasing it. This is the only decent kind of plywood you can get in the Philippines, by the brand Santa Clara. At least it has resorcinal glue joins. It's not really marine standard, more what we'd call in Australia exterior supply standard. More what we would call in Australia exterior grade, but it's quite good. I've got 4 sheets of 11mm and 4 sheets of 9mm. Relatively expensive by Philippine standards, but cheap by Australian standards. Also, I've got timber, which arrived 2 days ago. This is what they call mahogany. Sorry if there's wind here. 6 inches by 1 inch by 14 feet. Yes, a lot of the measurements are in the American imperial thing, but anyway. And over here are my dagger boards. I'm not actually cutting out these areas here. I've already burnt out 2 tools cutting this lot out. and it's significantly lighter, and I'll clean that up and that'll be ready to go shortly. Here I am on the deck of the boat, and now that I have timber and plywood, it's time to start cutting this little mess out. I've marked off everywhere which I consider to be soft, and I'll cut out those lines. I'll keep them rectangular and 90-degree angles, so it's easier to cut out the plywood to replace it. Actually, I think it goes a little bit further here, but anyway, we'll work that out as I go. This particular area is really, this unit here is really hard to get off, so I'm going to cut it all out, even though it's not really damaged here, but I've got to get it, everything, so yeah. Oh, it's all very interesting every step of the way. Oh my God, what have I done? That beautiful interior sanctuary is now destroyed. We are looking at a whole pile of mess, dust, rot inside, all opened up. And this is the start of the major renovation, really, in my opinion. This was, well, it looks good there. Some of the edges look really great. Clean it all away. Strengthen. New plywood on top. New cross beam here. That was a major mess. Very evident from the early days. I'm going to have to cut away a little bit further over there, obviously. Wow, and look at the thickness of the ply there. It is as though the builder was thinking that that's where the mast was going to go, because it has more support than what this one had, where the mast really stands is. So anyway, okay, I've got plywood now. There's no stopping me. The main thing is to get the whole boat watertight, and luckily I'm in a dry period here now. In a month or so the rains are going to come, so now's the time to do it. This is the extent of the wind. This is the extent of the softwood, which didn't really go as far as I thought. I've chiseled all out anything that's more soft. It's amazing what you can get away with when a boat is built about 5 times stronger than it needs to be. This obviously was a repair at one stage. This is a very thin piece of ply, and it didn't even connect properly to the main timbers here after the thicker ply rotted out. It just stuck in there, and a big hole there, and yet it still works. So I'm going to angle grind these into a better shape to take fresh timber, and it's all good. This is the extent of the rot and softwood, which is really not as much as I feared. I've chiseled away all of the soft stuff, and a lot of solid stuff remains. It's not so bad. making progress here. I've got the lid on some of the roof. I cut a camber on the edge of these lines and simply put it in on the top like a hat, sort of, if you know what I mean. Make a bit of a mess with epoxy on the inside, dripping everywhere, but that's good and strong now. Fantastic. Inside the boat here I've got chunks of wood holding up the roof so that it's in the right alignment for the plywood to go on. There's quite a bit of curving there, and I am putting in some strengthening pieces here to help with the alignment, and also will be a part of a frame for this skylight that goes there. Now over here you'll notice that this is a bit of a mess really, the repairs that I have done. You wouldn't want to do that on a beam that needs to stretch, but that's actually a compression beam. I wouldn't dare do it on the bottom beam there, which will want to pull out and up. But it'll be strong. The plywood, of course, joins it all together, and it makes it a completely stiff unit. Well, it's nice to get the lid on all this major roof area. Of course, there is always more to be done. Time to knock out the bits of wood to see if the roof is going to cave in. Ha ha ha. No, it's all good and solid. Whoa. In fact, it's like no pressure on it at all. No, it's all nice and solid. Yes, there's more soft stuff I've chiselled out there, and quite a bit of a disaster area over there where the chain plate is, the dagger board casing and the armour itself and the windows. Plenty of things to play with. The next job is here inside the starboard armour, particularly the chain plate which holds up the mast, which is quite rotted out. I'll show you what it's like inside. Quite a lot of softwood has been scraped away. What remains is relatively solid, though you can hardly call this stuff solid because it's yeah, there's a lot of daylight coming through, even inside the case of the dagger board. More holes up there. There's foam was filled all in there, and it's still damp, so I'm clearing that out and waiting for it to dry. But the main thing at the moment is to get some solid timber in here, so the chain plate is attached right through to the solid cross beams. Yes, it looks like a big job. Okay, we're getting timber on there. Nice solid stuff here and here, which goes right down inside. That actually was timber from the trim around the freezer. But anyway, and next we have this piece to go on. And actually I started sticking my feet right through the skin down there, so I'm starting to do some fiberglassing. Start strengthening it up inside. Plenty more layers going on. You'll notice that there's and another piece of plywood's going in on the other side, and this area here gives me something to work on, and another piece here. Well, chain plate is bolted in. I'm going to leave that open for a while because it gives me such good access to all the stuff that needs to be done down here. And there's quite a bit of work, obviously. Hopefully it's not going to rain and I can get this done. Yeah. I bet you cannot work out what it is that I am building here. How cheap can building a boat be? Well, it depends on where in the world you are, because prices differ quite a lot. I saw a video recently of a guy in Sweden, and the cost of his epoxy worked out around about 26 Australian dollars a litre. Here in the Philippines, it's $14 a litre. In Australia, it's $46 a litre. The difference between $14 and $46 is really quite a lot. In US dollars, that's $9 compared to $30. And that's it for this month. Cheers.